Hey, how's it going? Today we're gonna go over how we built this paneling job. It was all done through laminated panels. Here's a nice before and after with some really neat functions with the soft close doors. So first we started with the framing. The framing was done from the floor all the way to the ceiling, you know, according to the project's measurements and everything. And the first thing we did was put in the base cabinets as you just saw my friend doing. And next thing we did was we started measuring out the large sheets of panels that we cut down. These are just laminated sheets. They are 3/4, and some of them were the heavy duty particle board that already came laminated, and other sheets we used plywood or MDF regarding the part we were using to laminate and to build the structure that we just showed in the clip right there. So I'm cutting down the strips that we need in full length pieces. These plywood sheets were about 9 feet by 10 feet. So we marked every piece one by one, and we taped off all the cuts so that our saw would make nice clean cuts and not leave any breakthrough showing or anything. And one thing I would say is that we did go through a few blades. So making these long cuts, it's not as easy with the skill saw that it is with the table saw. You could use a table saw, but it's just hard to maneuver this entire sheet and trying to keep it 100% flat. If you don't have a workshop, and we actually did this on site, we didn't take this to our shop. We did this at the location where we were installing. And the reason why is because we needed to verify measurements, piece by piece, and they had the space, so we took advantage of that. They let us use their basement. They were really nice people to work with. They always are. And so once you get to the larger, wider pieces, the only way was to make a cut down the middle, and we couldn't reach, so had to test our sawhorses and get on top and go for a little ride. So once we had everything cut out, we started edge banding and gluing, fitting. That was our glue station back there. We even tested out a groove piece. We thought about doing some corners like this for the steps, which was totally possible with small pieces of laminate that you could heat up and bend, and the adhesive will stick really well, but it just wasn't possible for the larger pieces. We did take some pieces home to edge band them with our friend Felipe at Carpentry projects. And so then we pocket screwed the corners for the corner pieces of the whole build out. That raw edge will get laminated, so I built a little jig to just help hold it up in place. So I pocket screwed the L pieces together. It was about 10 or 12 of them, and these sheets were already laminated and edge banded. They were edge banded where they needed to be. The only place where I did not laminate was a piece where I needed to screw in to the next piece, for extra support. And so once we had everything glued in and set in place, it was basically seamless. So we just took some adjusting. And this sheet right here is laminated from both sides because that's how it came from the manufacturer. We took advantage of the large sheets that they had, because we not only did we need single individual laminate sheets, but we also had to laminate, the odd pieces that we were cutting out. So this piece was already laminated from both sides, so we used it in conjunction with our plywood sheets that we cut on our own to make this work. Here they are. Those are all the left sides, pre-laminate, and this is how we were cutting our laminate pieces. We just used a straight edge, clamped it to the table, and we ran our router bit across it. That's how we got all the cuts. And it really helps to do this, that way you don't waste any product. So here's how the entrance was looking, and those are the base cabinets that we put in earlier. So here I'm just dry fitting this corner piece. The way we're gonna hang these is, I didn't show it on the video, but there's little pieces of blocks already on the framing, and where you see every little piece of block, I shimmed it and leveled it to the spacing that I needed, to where I could just add a Z-clip to it and then a Z-clip to our panel, which would then sit on it and lock in place. And the good thing about this was that we had access to the back, which you normally don't. We had access to the back end, so if we needed to put in any extra screw support from the back, we could at any moment, which was really nice. But honestly, we only had to do that for the very, very large centerpiece that we did close to the end. So here we are just spacing out, because we will be adding reveals. There were about 1.25 inch brass reveals out of actual brass metal that we put in place as well. Here I'm hanging the Z-clips, and how I did it to level all these Z-clips from the ground all the way to the ceiling was that I actually used a laser. So I ran my laser from the floor to the ceiling, and I shimmed out every 16th, 30 seconds, 1/8 inch, whatever I needed, 1/4 inch, to make the blocking perfect, so that all the Z-clips would be in line, so that once all the panels are installed, they are basically going to be flush to each other, even though they won't technically be touching. The only panels that were touching each other were the ones up top with the large centerpiece. And the reveals, of course, will be just set in place, which was a pretty simple installation. And this project took several days, to be honest. No, a few weeks in time, just because we were working other projects. But we did this as efficient as possible and tried to keep it consistent. But we did have to come back a few times just to finish details while other things came in, because that yellow paneling you see there was actually filled with some nice LED lighting at the back, and our panels on the sides and bottoms and tops. So I think at this point we're already going to install. Yes, that panel already has a Z-clip in the back, so we're going to lock it in place. We just had those bottom pieces basically touch the carpet on the floor, and that was our guide. And here we are working our way up. That measurement of 108, I actually created a panel jig for the large centerpiece, so I didn't want to mess up our only huge piece that we had. So I had to make a few template pieces to get that measurement for that top piece, that top centerpiece, that big opening in the center. It was completely covered by one full piece. And here we have the L pieces on the side right there, ready. We just put them up one by one, because all the measurements were different for the clips, for the blocking. It's very tedious, but it works very well. And at this point, we couldn't continue until we put up the large centerpiece. So we had it ready. And the way that we set it up was that we put blocks on it to put it up in tiers. So every time that we pushed it up, a blocking would hold it up in place. And thankfully it worked on the first shot. Then we screwed it from behind as it was clamped and being held. Thankfully, we had extra hands. I appreciate it, guys. So yeah, we made sure to put in extra screws wherever we needed. Make sure that we're all catching. So here we're finally taking a break, and I'm cutting down the brass with some metal cutting clips. I'm doing like a 45 on both sides, right at the line, to help us give that bend where we needed it. That way we didn't have to cut it and 45 it and leave like a sharp edge that we had to file and repaint. So we just cut the edges and made it bend on its own. As long as you did it slowly, it wouldn't, crack or break or anything. Most aluminum is very forgiving for as far as being flexible and to bend like that. So I did that a few 10-20 times, and that's kind of how I fit in right there, just with some adhesive, because we didn't want to put any nails or screws through the face if we didn't have to, which we really didn't have to at this point. Thankfully, it worked pretty well. And that was the last L piece that we had to put up. It helps to have a hand, because this thing can get very difficult when you're in a couple, 12-15 feet off the ground. And it was nice to see this come together, just because we've done this at larger commercial jobs like restaurants, commercial buildings, hotels. We've done this with bigger companies, and I've always wanted to do this, on my own or with, my team. And it turned out beautifully, to be honest. Just, with the lighting, the functions, the features, the hidden, doorway, everything turned out nicely. So it wasn't not only in the labor, but the planning, the way the contractor planned it here. He had been envisioning this probably for a while, and he did an awesome job too, to be honest. So he just gave us, some prints, and we got to work, and we told him we could make it happen. And so far, this whole process has been done, I'd say, within 1 or 2 weeks. If you try to do something like this at a commercial job, jobs like this, they take months. Just because of all the planning, preparation, all the people, waiting for the materials to be made, ball, cut, measured. And we made this happen here locally, here in Atlanta, Georgia. And those blockings, spacers that we use really helped, to keep everything, uniform and give us exact measurements. That way it could be, seamless all the way to the ceiling. And it helps somebody holds the ladder, because I did scoot 1 or 2 times. It was just the angle. It was hard to get up there. And there were some stairs below. But yeah, that's what we got right now. It's looking very nice. And yeah, the top edges were perfect. I mean, we had one shot to get that large centerpiece, and thankfully it went on just how we wanted. Thank goodness. And here we're getting ready to install some laminate that we had to glue on the wall, to cover an exposed wall, which we couldn't create a panel really, because we are using that space for the sliding hidden doors to slide into the fixture right there. So we had to laminate in place. It's not fun, it's not easy, but we can definitely make it happen, and you can too. So we glued it, we routed it right in place. Not only did we do the laminating panels right there, but we actually did built-in layers that we are working on. As you see, we did built-in layers to kind of create like a 3 or 4 panel deep dimensional look, especially with the LED lighting that was added at the end. It really gave it some depth, I guess you could say. And we just spaced everything out evenly. And not only did that help create an extra effect of depth, but it helped cover up the places where like the sliding doors end with the track. Everything was kept hidden. So I think this came out perfectly, really. And just going over these details is very time consuming. Like, we did have to stay long days, late into the night, maybe 1 or 2 days, just to make sure that the details were 100%, because we only got one shot, like I said, to make this happen. And the results were phenomenal. And gluing and building and installing all on site is a challenge, but it definitely can be done. You don't need a big shop or a lot of machinery. You can make it happen if you're just patient and you price a job right, to where you can take your time and you have good people with you, or on your own. You could definitely make this happen. And here was our favorite feature right here, the famous shot of George closing these doors. Here you can tell we already put in the bronze spacing. Some LED lighting had already gone up. Just securing more blocks to keep everything hidden at a site. But I think it turned out beautifully. The LED lighting, that black panel was like a transparent sheet. We put in some handles on the doors. We fixed some stuff on the doors, trying to make them as clean and neat as possible. And these tracks were really awesome. We got a track at the top, track at the bottom, with wheels on the doors, top and bottom, that were really adjustable. You could go, up or down, in or out. And what I really liked about these doors were the soft close features. They had a soft close feature to open and a soft close feature to close. And the large handles were definitely a good choice. It was nice the way this came together, just because the planning was on point. And this is one of the largest pieces, like I said, that we've done before. And one more thing that we added was an actual island that matched the entire build. It was like a bonus build for it. And we put it on, wheels, so it could be moved around wherever they needed it. In place, out of place, to the side, to the corner. And it had some nice steps that we added. Those 2 rectangular steps at the bottom actually come out. I'll show you here in the video at the end. And on the front of it, we actually set in a cabinet with 2 doors that would also push to open. And here was one of my favorite features. It was a balloon push out step that was very, very hard to install. It took multiple attempts, not gonna lie. I had to order a few extra pieces, but we made it happen and we were really happy. Like and subscribe. Thanks for following, and stick around for more. Thanks.